Welcome to Almanac North. I'm Maria Hewitt. Tonight we'll be visited by veterans, doctors, and experts in healthcare for our former and current military service members. That's to come on tonight's episode, but first, the Head of the Lakes United Way is hoping for your help to stuff the bus with school supplies and donations for local students. The community initiative aims to collect school supplies for students that need them most. The goal of the Head of the Lakes United Way is to ensure that every child starts the school year with the tools they need to succeed. Individuals, employee groups, and service organizations are requested to help students by donating school supplies from the most requested lists on the Head of the Lakes United Way website. Drop-off locations are also included online. Several communities will be gathering donated supplies. Ashland, Greater Duluth, Lake County, and Superior will all be active over the course of the summer. More details are available online if you are interested in donating supplies to any of these school districts during their collection times. There are also two events for Stuff the Bus, August 13th at 11 a.m. at the Boys and Girls Club of the Northland in Duluth and August 30th at Castle Danger Brewery in Two Harbors. If you are interested in making a financial contribution towards the Stuff the Bus donation drive, please mail a check to the Head of the Lakes United Way, or you can donate online at hlunitedway.org/donate. Note Stuff the Bus along with the school district you would like your donation to support. Well, let's now shift to tonight's topic, Veterans Affairs. We're first joined by Jenna Grain and Jonna Phillips from the Veterans Resilience Project. Jenna and Jonna, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. We're so excited to be here and talk about Veteran Resilience Project and just in general military community.
Wonderful. Well, maybe we can start with each of you telling us a little bit about what you do for the project and its mission.
Yeah. So I'm the executive director. I've been with Veteran Resilience Project since 2022. We are committed on providing free trauma therapy to veterans, service members, and their spouses, which we were actually able to include starting just this last year. So we were really excited about that. Our mission is to provide a healing path for them and through this specific modality called EMDR. And so we're really excited about that. We want it to be accessible and we want it to be effective, and that is why this is the modality we're offering throughout the state of Minnesota.
Wonderful. And Jenna, what do you do for the project?
Yeah, so I am an outreach coordinator for the northern part of the state. I started with VRP this last November. I myself am a retired veteran, and I'm just really passionate about mental health in general. As part of our outreach program, we're really focused on getting out in the communities and educating them about what our organization does and just the importance for people to really be trauma informed. A lot of times when people think of trauma with military members, they think of, deploying or being in a combat zone, and sometimes that's not the case. Military members a lot of times go through, like most people, some kind of adverse life event that can be traumatic, whether that be a divorce or a loss of a family member. Transitioning out of the military can be hard, and really just childhood trauma, any kind of trauma. We all have our own story of trauma that we've been through. It's really exciting to be able to offer this as a pathway to heal for veterans. Being in the military alone, we both know we've both served for many years, and military life can be really challenging and hard at times. So I myself am really proud to be a part of an organization like VRP. We really value the importance of building relationships with individuals and building relationships with veteran organizations and community partners. And we also think that's really important for the overall well-being of veterans.
Jonna, can you share a little bit about why and how VRP was created?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were actually founded by Elaine Wynn. She is a psychologist, still practicing. She's in her 80s, but she is also a Vietnam veteran spouse and really saw during the Iraqi war veterans coming home and EMDR not being accessible in, again, the military community, specifically in the state of Minnesota. So was really passionate about providing that specific modality because of the effectiveness. And so she did a pilot program in 2012 and then actually founded VRP in 2015 based off of the success of that pilot project. And so As we've grown in the last few years, we were supported by the legislature, and so we've really been able to do a lot more, and it's really exciting. In the last 2 years, we've provided over 500 sessions to, again, veterans, service members, and their spouses. And when we talk about veterans, we like to say veterans of all discharge statuses. We know because we're trauma-informed, people may get discharged from the military for various reasons. So we just like to also communicate that we're really proud of that as a nonprofit, being able to serve the military community in general.
So how does a veteran get help? How do they start the process? And then who do they get connected with?
That's a great question. So, when we're at these outreach events, when we're in the community, we really encourage people to go to our website, which is, www.veteranresilienceproject.org, and there's a contact form. And that contact form is actually vital for our team. Our care coordinator, her name is Ashley Olson, also a veteran spouse, very passionate, a social worker, is our care coordinator. So she works with the veteran on making sure we get all the information we need to set them up with a therapist that meets their needs. So we ask them to let us know if they have any preferences, and she's able to pair the veteran with the appropriate therapist.
Yeah, having the right therapist can really
huge.
make a difference.
Yeah.
Like it's a relationship that you have to build.
Yeah.
And so the therapy itself, can you talk more about the program? You mentioned EMDR, and that's a specific type of trauma therapy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So it's a really fun acronym. Those in the military community will love that we, throw out another acronym. But why it is our niche and our modality is, again, because it's one of the most effective forms of therapy for specifically PTSD and complex PTSD. So we know, again, our military community has a lot of that, so we want to provide that resource. And what it really helps do is we talk about activation points. So we don't know why, but sometimes trauma gets stuck in the frontal cortex of our brain and it doesn't get fully processed. And so the goal of EMDR is to actually store it as a memory versus an activation point. And so I always talk about, I want to be fully at my child's softball game. And so versus wondering if something bad's going to happen. And so that's our goal, is that, helping veterans be fully where they are and to provide them quality of life versus just kind of white knuckling through things. And so that's why we really are passionate about providing this modality. And like Jenna said, we're both from the veteran community. We're both veterans. I'm still serving in the military. I'm married to a combat veteran. And so we're just extra passionate about letting people know that their healing is possible. There's resources out there for us now that veterans before us didn't have, and we just really want to change the narrative around taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, share that there's resources. I feel like we could talk about this for a whole nother half hour, but unfortunately, time is up. Thank you so much, Jenna and Jonna, for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Well, next up on Almanac North, our team visited Greg Ruberg, President and CEO of Aspirus Lakeview 2 Harbors Clinic, to learn about how they work with veterans and the VA to provide medical support.
Well, Lakeview Hospital operates a critical access hospital here in Two Harbors. We have a medical clinic. We also have a medical clinic in Silver Bay, and it's 0.6 miles away from the veterans' home. So as we looked at providing services to the veterans in the county, it was a natural fit to extend that service up to the clinic and then right into the veterans' home itself. So we started back in 2018 with lab services. We'd send a phlebotomist to the organization to draw blood, to do laboratory testing in our clinic. And then in 2019, we expanded to physician services, and then in 2022, we expanded into rehab services. So I would say we have an innovative relationship where we provide the physician services for the veterans home and for the veterans care. So Dr. Howard Josephs is a family practice physician at Lakeview. He goes up to Silver Bay typically 1 day a week and provides services to the veterans. Typically that's on day 30 and day 90 after the initial admission, and then every 60 days thereafter. The benefit is Dr. Josephs worked at Lakeview for over 30 years, and so it's just taking all of that expertise, and he's very well respected, so he's up there providing services to patients that he, in some cases, provided services to here in Two Harbors when they lived in town. He's very much a supporter of veterans health care and really enjoys going up there. Yeah, Lakeview, Aspirus Lakeview is very patient-centric, and so that's with all of our patients that we serve across Lake County and others that seek care here. It's no different for the veterans. We're very open to feedback from the Silver Bay Veterans Home leadership, from their staff, from patients, and even their families. So if patients aren't receiving the care that they expect or think that they deserve, they're very free to share that feedback with us. I do think our providers and our staff, along with the Veterans Home staff, do a great job of making sure that every veteran receives personalized care. And again, always focused on high quality care, safe care, and personalized care. And I think we deliver on that quite well. We rely a lot on the robust internal quality processes that are in place at the Silver Bay Veterans Home. They've got quality committees, they've got review committees, and I would say that we rely on that. Our physician, Dr. Josephs, works very closely with their nurse practitioner who's employed by the Veterans Home. So when he's up there, they're collaborating, discussing care, addressing any issues that might come up. The other benefit I would share is that the Silver Bay Veterans Home went through a Minnesota Department of Health routine survey just back in April of this year, and they were deficiency free. So we have external reviewers coming and looking at the care, and we're again put their stamp on it that it was very good care. And when I spoke to Dr. Josephs about the privilege of serving veterans at the Silver Bay Veterans Home, his comment was they've got a great team that provides excellent care to the veterans, and he said, I'm just very happy to be able to provide services there. So kind of that endorsement of the team that's delivering care, and he's happy to be a part of it, and Aspirus Lakeview is happy to be a part of it as well. We don't have any plans right now about expanding services, although I would say that Aspirus Lakeview is always open to opportunities. If there's a way that we can serve veterans in a way that to meet needs that are not being met, we're very open, and I'm confident that the Veterans Home would reach out and inquire about that, and we'd be more than willing to step up and do that. Yeah, I think of one story comes to mind. I'm a physical therapist by background, and I worked for about 15 years at Lakeview as the rehab director and physical therapist. And I recall one situation where one of our local residents here was a veteran, a very proud veteran, and I was fortunate enough to serve him in PT over probably 2 or 3 different occasions. So I got to know him really well. We spent a lot of time talking about his service to our country, and eventually he had the need to move to Silver Bay into the Veterans Home. And I was up there doing work in my new role as the CEO of Lakeview, and I ran into him in the hallway. And as we were talking and catching up from years past, he was sharing his feedback about how great his new home was, how great the staff were, and his new old physician, Dr. Josephs, was the one caring for him. And so it was great to be able to see that continuity of care from his care and medical services in Two Harbors that got extended up in Silver Bay. And he certainly fit right in, and it was fun, and really to think back of all of those stories of him serving our country, and that I could do a small piece in helping to serve him when he's in his home up in Silver Bay. We really haven't experienced many challenges. When you going back 5, 6 years, it's been a pretty smooth partnership. I would say the kind of the collaboration and the relationship with their leadership and their staff is very strong. So if an issue comes up, we pick up the phone, we kind of hash it out, and we address it, and we move on. So I don't think there was really a challenge. Even setting up the contract for the service and all the logistics around that went fairly smooth with great support from the St. Paul office and local leadership. So I wouldn't say there were any challenges that were significant. I would tell them to go for it. I think about when this opportunity first came up, we had to work through some of the logistics and figure out how we're going to cover it and do all of that. But I think back to, I believe we owe it to our veterans to do whatever we can for them to provide medical care. And as a health system in Lake County, we have a unique opportunity to partner with the Veterans Home to do this. And I think of all the sacrifices that our veterans have made for our country and sacrifices that their families have made. This is just one small gesture that we can do to give back and really express some appreciation for what they've done. And I feel privileged to be able to be a part of that, and our team's privileged to be a part of that, and we hope to continue doing it many years into the future.
We are now joined by Nadine Wells on Almanac North. Nadine is the Director of Veterans Services Office of St. Louis County. Nadine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with learning a little bit about you and what you do with the Veterans Service Office.
So I am the Director of the St. Louis County Veterans Service Office. We have 4 offices throughout the county: Ely, Virginia, Hibbing, and Duluth. We want to try to cover as much of the area as we can because it's such a widespread county. And our main focus is to help veterans understand and obtain the benefits that they earned.
Yeah, so what are some of the services and programs offered by the Veterans Services Office?
We do a lot of programs. So our main function is to help veterans understand their benefits, so counsel them on their benefits and assist in the VA claims process. So we help them file claims through the VA from start to finish. If there's an appeal that needs to be done, we assist with that service as well. We also help with enrolling into VA healthcare and navigating that system, survivor and dependent benefits, outreach and community engagement. And then also Minnesota is a very unique state. We have a lot of programs, nonprofit programs, state-funded programs that are geared towards veterans specific. So we're very lucky in that manner. A lot of states don't have that opportunity to have those out there. So we do a lot of resource and referrals. And I'm just going to reference you my list because I don't want to miss any. But Minnesota has higher education representatives that help all veterans and their dependents understand what kind of education benefits they could have. We have veterans employment representatives. We have housing assistance through local organizations such as MACV. We have mental health and counseling services. So the Duluth Vet Center, LSS Core offers counseling services. The Veteran Resiliency Program.
Yes, yeah, we were just talking about that. You knew Jenna and Jana.
Yes, 23rd Veteran, the Armadillo Project, the list, really goes on. We also help with financial assistance and emergency financial assistance. So we have a grant through the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs that's called the Veterans Relief Grant. So if a veteran or their surviving spouse, if the veteran has passed, and they have not used the grant in the past, if they run into a financial emergency, an example could be their furnace goes down and they don't have enough to pay for it on their own, or it would be detrimental to their account, we would help them apply for that grant to get that furnace replaced. And there's various items that they could use that on. There's also, again, through LSS Core, financial assistance and budgeting and counseling in that way. There's also transportation resources. So, for example, the Twin Ports VA in Superior has the DAV transportation services. So it's just a lot of collaborating with community resources and a lot of action planning, I want to say. So when veterans or their family members or service members come to us looking for assistance, we really try to dig in and see all areas that they could use assistance in, and if it's not something we can help with directly, then we try to connect them with the correct resource.
Yeah, so you just rattled off a huge list of resources for veterans in Minnesota. And so you kind of work as the organization to kind of highlight all that's available for the veterans. Do you think that the veterans in St. Louis County in our area know about all those resources? Who's eligible and how do they know if they're eligible?
Well, and that's the thing, I don't, when it comes to eligibility for our office, we often get calls, am I a veteran? Do I qualify? We don't like to put everybody into one basket because everybody's different. So everything truly is case by case per the individual. We have veterans that served active duty. They did, 24 consecutive months. They received an honorable or a general discharge, and they know that they're automatically eligible for certain benefits. As a city in Minnesota that has Army National Guard, Air National Guard, Army Reserves, active duty Coast Guard, just in Duluth alone, that's quite a different spread.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of Guard members, and some have been on active duty orders, some have not. Some have deployed and on combat veterans, some have not. And all of that is okay.
Yep.
So it's always important that they really just reach out and call us, and we will ask the questions and we will dig and see exactly what programs you're eligible for.
So rather doing all that paperwork on your own, it's one phone call
Yes.
to you.
Yes, we will make sure that we're doing everything we can to get the most benefits for you that you're eligible for.
Well, Nadine, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing the services provided by St. Louis County, and thank you for your service as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Up next via the web is Dr. Erin Fletcher from the Wounded Warrior Project. Erin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do with the Wounded Warrior Project?
So my name is Dr. Erin Fletcher, and by trade, I have my doctorate in clinical psychology. And I've been with Wounded Warrior Project for coming up on 11 years, always on kind of the mental health side of our programming. And I'm based in our Chicago office.
Can you give us an overview of the Wounded Warrior Project and its mission?
Absolutely. So Wounded Warrior Project is a nonprofit organization focusing on working with post 9/11 veterans, and we provide a suite of services to address your mental and brain health, physical health and wellness, financial wellness, advocacy, and long-term rehabilitative care. These programs and services are offered to veterans and their families at no cost, thanks to the unbelievable supporters of Wounded Warrior Project.
So how does the Wounded Warrior Project help veterans in Minnesota?
So we have teammates in Minneapolis, but we take kind of this regional approach. And so they work to connect veterans within their community. They connect them to all of our, kind of programs and services. So it feels very seamless. And if somebody's moving or if they're, going to travel, let me say this, geography doesn't necessarily limit anything. This is a national organization, but we have teammates in Minneapolis, and we've built a really great community out there.
And what specific programs and services does the Wounded Warrior Project offer to wounded veterans?
So we have, under our mental and brain health programs, we offer a continuum of support that can go from our once a week telephonic mental health support, where we're working on goal setting and some accountability, that could go to our outdoor adventure-based mental health workshops, all the way up to our formal clinical treatment. The program that I oversee is our Warrior Care Network, and that provides accelerated brain health programs to address post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, military sexual trauma, depression, and anxiety. We have our physical health and wellness programs that offer nutrition courses and wellness and, getting back into an exercise routine. We have our financial wellness programs that are looking to help veterans transition into civilian careers and ensuring that they have the success to make that transition. We have our government and community relations team that's advocating for veterans as it relates to standards of access to care at VA hospitals and programs in the community. And then we have our long-term rehabilitative care that works with our most catastrophically injured veterans to ensure that they can live as independently as they can in their homes. We offer an array of services to ensure that they're successful in their home versus going to, say, a nursing home, for example.
Can you highlight any success stories or notable achievements from your programs?
Oh, so many. One particular individual stands out. He was a gunnery sergeant in the Marines, had a very, decorated career, but experienced some significant losses while he was serving. He was deployed multiple times, lost a number of fellow Marines, came home, was trying to transition, was building his family, moved on to become a police officer in his community. And over time, these symptoms of post-traumatic stress, he didn't know what that was. He didn't have that sort of name for it at that point. But he was struggling. He was withdrawing from his family. He was having a hard time at work. And he was contemplating suicide. He was in his car, with a loaded weapon, thinking this is the day that he was going to take his life. He thought about, the Marines that came home and how, he wanted to honor that and how he wasn't, going to lose this battle. He went through one of the programs within Warrior Care Network, came out a different person. He's now one of our warriors that goes out into the community and talks about his experience and shares it. And I think the piece that's most important here is his son is now in the Marines. And so with his experience of addressing head on the mental health challenges that he experienced, he's talking to his son about that. And he's sharing this message that seeking treatment, if you need it, doesn't make you weak. It takes an incredible amount of strength to address this. He's talking to his son about what to look out for, how, he can talk to his fellow Marines about it and to address things head on versus, waiting for such a long time. And he's, wildly successful, and his son is doing great. And it's an absolutely just beautiful sort of full circle moment.
Great success story, Erin. And Erin, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Well, finally tonight, let's look ahead and see what you might be up to this weekend. This Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the Northland's largest obstacle course will be waiting for you to challenge yourself. The course will be set up at the Rice Lake City Park. 200 feet of obstacles, plus a toddler playland, bounce house, and food trucks. Parking is free. An all-day wristband is $20, $10 for children 5 and under, or a single-use ticket is $3. The rain date for this event is Sunday, July 21st. Saturday evening at 9 p.m. in Brainerd is Movies at the Park featuring Back to the Future. The Brainerd Parks and Recreation Department is screening the movie at the Lyman P. White Park. Admission is free and popcorn will be available. And all weekend long is Jingle All the Way in July in Cass Lake. Participants can decorate their campsite, golf cart, kids, or anything in between with festive Christmas decorations. Compete for Best Decorated or join in just for fun. More information is available at the Stony Point Resort and Canal House Restaurant website. A little Christmas in July might be just what we need to beat the heat. That will do it for this week's show. Make sure you go out and enjoy your weekend. For everyone here at Almanac North, I'm Maria Hewitt. Thank you for joining us. Good night.